And I'm back like I never left. Let's go, people. So, back in part one, I was telling y'all the story about how I got my heart broken, my heart all broke up and stuff. And now in part two, I'm explaining I'm not going to say the redemption arc because, spoiler alert, there was none. Okay, allow me to explain. So I'm driving back to Texas, 20 hours, and I do that trip nonstop. I'm on no sleep because I couldn't sleep the night before in California, which was really annoying because I knew I had a long trip ahead of me, but my body he does what he wants to do. So anyway, I'm driving back, and I stopped through Arizona at one point, and it's like 119 degrees in my car. I turn the AC off. I roll all four windows down, and I just bask in it. That's how cold I felt in California. Okay? So you really gotta understand. I was there from January to July, but I felt so cold there constantly. So when I was driving through Arizona, I rolled them windows down and I let that heat take me for a good hour. I just let it take me. So I had to warm my bones up at the core. Anyway, so I drive 20 hours back to good old Texas, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm looking good. I got all my. Oh, you know what? I think I got some pictures. Like I was super, 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 super fit. You know, it was cool. I might not put them. I don't know. But anyway, I get back, and of course, one of the first things on my mind is sunshine. Now, at this point, I had said a lot of what I needed to say, and just kind of at that point just left it up to fate. You know, how's it supposed to go? And you know, I saw her. We hung out. We would still hang out, you know, pretty regularly, just at a platonic level. Which honestly, at that point, I would take in anything. You know, just being friends and not like that romantic, you know, what are we doing type of thing. But you know, again, it was fine because I still enjoyed her as a person. And but also, you know, she expressed wanting to, you know, like work out and get in shape and stuff and blah blah. And I'm just like, that's something that I enjoy, and I just got back from school, so yeah, let's do it. So I also got to do that and train her and stuff, and that was enjoyable just to be in that space. But of course, there's still always that thing inside of me where I'm hoping. You know, I've got all my fingers crossed, and I cross these, and I cross my arms, my toes, everything. Everything's crossed up. Just you know, just hoping and praying, right? And you know, time goes on, and I think there's a moment where things might, but ultimately it doesn't. And I was disappointed just because, again, of how much I wanted it. And but here's the funny thing about what you think you want is that you may want it from a certain physical place, but you know, your higher self and spirit, your guides, might be keeping you from this thing because it's not right for you. You know, it's just not right for you, or just not. And I think that's something that we as human beings struggle with, is I want this thing or I want that thing, and spirit's just like, no, it's not for you. You know, don't do it. And not to say that, you know, it's bad or whatever. It's just not right for you. And I kind of feel like that's what that was for her and I. It was because, you know, somebody cannot be. I'm sure there's plenty of people who experience a relationship that the person wasn't right for them or wasn't meant for them, but you love them anyway, right? I mean, people. Like people fall in love with the wrong people all the time. It's that's kind of how it happens. But of course, when you're in it, when you're in that space, you're just like, okay. And this is kind of the cool thing about this whole experience for me was that it was teaching me in retrospect. It was teaching me in retrospect that lesson. Just like, hey, look at things where they were, look at where they are now, and kind of that you can kind of see the trajectory, right? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, okay, cool. So anyway, I was doing all that I could, but I was also just being a good friend, just being a good person, just and hoping that would kind of be enough during that time. But ultimately, it wasn't. It came to a head. It came to a moment where things was like, oh, it's like a decision being made, and she chose her boyfriend, who she was with, which you really can't fault her for that, and I didn't. Because when we talked about it, right? We talked about it, the things that were important to her, and all these things, and it's just like, and I get it. So it had got to a point where I was doing all these things and just hoping, but at the end of the day, it didn't happen. So I remember I made a final. Oh, this is right before I learned a final, last. Well, it wasn't a last ditch effort. It was me genuinely just wanting to show her some kindness because that's just who I am, and I love her. So hey, let me do this thing, and I couldn't, which hurt, because I got a birthday gift and I was just asked to see her because I was going to give her the birthday gift. That's why I wanted to see her, but she was just like, no, I don't think we should, and blah blah blah. I was like, oh well, crap. So I didn't even get to give it to her, which was, that sucked for me, but that was part of the journey. So the interesting thing about this whole process, so this was in 2019. So when I got back and I was going through this, I was also going to the psychic development mediumship classes, and blah blah blah. So I was starting that journey during this time. But the new year comes around, and I want to say it's like January somewhere. It's going into 2020, and I meet a woman, and we date for like a month. Now it was interesting because it was like there's things that I was experiencing, right? In the realm of spirit, that I'm just like, oh, this turns me on. Like, I love this stuff. And I met this woman, and she was like on the totally other side of the spectrum. And then I had a moment when I was wanting to express some stuff to her and talk about stuff, and she's just like, well, I told her about like doing mediumship and everything, and she's like, you never done it on me, have you? I was just like, no, I would never do that without your permission. She's like, okay, good. I don't live there. That's not me. And I was just like, I was taken aback because I don't know. I just didn't expect it. But it showed me, it's like, oh, okay. She's a great girl. And we had fun, like just laying down on the couch, talking, laughing, because she was in the military as well. And we would like trade stories about stuff, or just, it was a really good time. But the compatibility for like the deeper things wasn't there for me, and that sucked, because I was like, this is an important part of me, and although it's not that big yet, I know that it will be, and it's just like, how can you be with somebody when such a large part of you has to be hidden? That's something that I don't want to do. So when I made that realization, I was like, okay, I knew it wasn't going to go far, but what was fascinating about that time was that when we met, we started dating, it was super quick. I had never really entered into like a relationship that fast before. But she had noticed in that short period of time that I started gaining weight. And I was just like, yeah, I am, but I don't even know why. I was vegetarian at this point. I worked out, all the time, and I did a lot of fasting, and my habits, my eating habits and everything were really strict, really just, and not like so strict that I felt like I'm losing out, but like this is kind of how I eat. This is kind of how I do. So, not a problem. But I was gaining weight, and I was gaining it pretty rapidly. And it had gotten to a point where I was just, I was up like 20 or 25 pounds by the let's say it was about 15 or so. By the time we had stopped talking, we had stopped dating, and that was kind of it. But I after that I started gaining weight, and it was like 5 pounds every week, just slowly gaining. And I saw sunshine like one more time. It was like February when I was going to work, and I saw her one more time. And it was good to see her because I hadn't seen her in like 3 or 4 months, haven't talked to her. So it was good to see her. It was a little like off-putting. I was just like, why do you want to? Because it's funny, like her perspective and my perspective is so different. Because I'm like still in love, right? But she's just, oh yeah, we're friends. It's all good. We're friends. I was like, no, girl, I'm still in love with you. I can't just be your friend. I'm up here trying to date other women now, and I just, the things ain't going right. So we saw her. We had breakfast, and then I go to work. But I'm gaining weight, and I'm just like, man, what's going on? And so then 2020 happens. March hits, so we all know what happens then, and the whole world just it's doing its thing. So then it's a different type of thing going on. Then it's just like, okay, what can I do now? And I'm really just trying to figure out how I'm supposed to, or how to heal. What even to heal? Like what's the thing? And it had gotten to the point by March. Let me see. By April, I think. By April, I think I had gained like 40 pounds. And I was up to like 210 or 215 or 220, and I just kept gaining. And it wasn't a thing where it's just like, oh, everybody's shut in, we're just eating. I wasn't doing that. Nothing had changed for me. I was still maintaining my diet, now I couldn't work out anymore. The gyms were shut down, but I was still doing, other stuff. But the weight was just coming on, and I had noticed that I was falling into a depression. And it was pretty hard. It was a pretty hard depression because I was still, being single again, and then thinking about the woman I really love, and now even being in the same state, and it's just like, oh my gosh, you're so close, but you're still so far, and it was still tearing me apart, I think. So I started going through essentially trying to figure out what was going on. We start using essential oils and okay, so oh yeah, that's what I forgot. So during that time, when I'm back in Texas and I'm working out things before the shutdown, I noticed that I had started, when I leave the gym, sometimes I go to Starbucks and get like I'm not a big coffee drinker at this point. I haven't even had it in years, but like I would go get like a single shot, like vanilla chocolate latte or something, a peppermint white chocolate latte, because I don't like a whole lot of coffee flavor, but I like the peppermint and the white chocolate flavor, So, and I noticed that I would drink it and I would get super tired after, and I'm just like, I'm pretty sure coffee's supposed to have the opposite effect. but it's supposed to give you energy, but I'm getting tired. And I noticed it quite a lot, because at this particular moment I go to the place, then I flirt with the little cute girls behind the serve me the coffee. So I flirt a little bit, get my coffee, and then And I noticed, I was like, I'm getting tired drinking this. Like, there's a noticeable drop in my energy after I have this. And my my adrenals were like losing energy. I would wake up in the morning, and within like an hour or two, I am dead tired to the point where I'm standing up and I'm falling asleep. I'm falling asleep standing up. Like I couldn't stay awake. I didn't have the energy to stay awake. And this went on for months. And it started around that February, March, April time. And like even in during the shutdown, it's like I'm just zapped of energy. And I started looking for different things to tell me what's up, like what's going on, what's happening to me, what am I doing, what's going on. And I got it. I started looking. I'm gonna make another video on it, but I looked into sound. I looked into past life stuff. I looked into what else? There were some things. There was other things, and I was just like looking into these things, and I gotta figure it out. So I'm gonna stop the video here, just so it doesn't go on too long. But there's more. There's more to this story, and it's about. It starts to get a little more metaphysical. How these things that we do on the physical and how they're affecting our energy and these various things. So please stick around, because there's going to be more. All of this stuff is going to come together. Like I said, it's going to be all over the place, but it's going to be cohesive at a certain point. You're going to zipper it up. It's all going to make sense. So thank you for joining me. I'm Johnny Jupiter. There is no outro.